To finish up then, just for the last sort of 5-10 minutes, a look ahead to next weekend's Premier League game against Leicester City, a 5:30 UK time kickoff on Saturday. Leicester, Alfie, seem to have been a proper mix of the sort of good, bad and ugly this season. What have you made of them?
Yeah, I was actually just watching the EFL Cup final before we started recording this, and I was watching the trophy lift, and Sky Sports showed that Southampton were playing Leicester on next Saturday, and I actually winced. I was like, "Why? Please don't remind me. I've only just got home." Leicester haven't been. No, I mean, I'm not hugely impressed by Leicester. They've obviously got quality players, but it's a very similar situation to Southampton. They've kept the continuity, they've kept their manager, and they've tried to fight through it, and as a result, they'll be more than okay. But you'd like to think that with any game you have a chance of winning. I don't want to think about it yet.
Yeah. And Glen, I mean, they've got 7 wins on the board, 24 points. They're in 14th, but as we kind of alluded to at the start of this podcast, that's only 3 points above the relegation zone. So fair to say, I suppose, in terms of, we're not starting to play teams that are on the beach already. I mean, they're in trouble still and going to need to be up for this as well.
Yeah, they are. And it's been a very, very bad season considering the players that they've got and the manager that Brendan Rodgers thinks he is. They've not been particularly clever. They seem to have been very over-reliant on James Maddison all of a sudden. In seasons gone by, they had, other players chipping in, stepping up. And this year, when he hasn't played, they've looked very, very ordinary. Jamie Vardy appears to have kind of come to his natural end. I think he's sort of 35, 36 now.
And there's a hat-trick next weekend.
Yeah, probably, but he's not. He's not in the team. And I noticed last week, Kelechi Iheanacho, who's a player that I really wanted us to sign in January.
Good finish.
I've always thought he was decent since his Manchester City days. He's in the team now. And they've got decent performers like Harvey Barnes, and they've signed a new winger in the. It was one of those Ukrainian players who had his Brazilian guy who played in Ukraine who got his contract cancelled, and they picked him up for nothing or something.
Tete.
I forgot his name. So, but Leicester have underachieved, and it's in the context of what we've got for the rest of the season. It's a game we've got to go and win. I mean, we're not going to can't beat about the bush here. Have we won 1 at home all season?
Yeah.
I mean, we got Leicester is the next home game, and then Brentford after that, which I would suggest is much more difficult. And then Spurs is the home game after that. So, in my mind, we've really got to win this one. It's the most, in my mind, this is the most winnable out of the next 3 home games. And if we don't win any home games, then we're obviously completely stuffed. I'm looking forward to it just for the way that, as we discussed earlier, how Ruben sets us up.
Yeah,
because if he picks Elyounoussi again, I might just stay in the pub.
And Steve, I think Glen's made a really good point there, and that's what I was going to ask you, because you guys were obviously talking about it last week, weren't you, about the difference between setting up at somewhere like Chelsea and then how he might want to set up at St Mary's if they want to take the game to teams a little bit more and things like that. So I don't want to say, what do you expect to see, because I don't think any of us really know, but what do you hope to see?
Bit more energy from the start. I mean, the idea that we might actually fancy scoring some goals. That'd be nice. Be a bit of a bonus, sort of based on the last 4 months. Just some intent. It's at the end of the day, there are teams in the Premier League who can hurt you. Who have the vast majority of them, Bournemouth accepted, are packed full of good players. And on any given day, they can tear you to pieces, regardless of whether we're picking the good defenders that we have or whether we're picking Bednarek. And so, occasionally you will come a cropper against any one of these teams if you're not on it or if they turn in something special. It can happen. Leicester we've seen can turn it on. They beat Spurs 4-1 the other week. They're clearly no mugs when they fancy it, but quite often this season they haven't fancied it, and we've got to kind of hope that they're in that mindset of not really being up for it, but that mindset from them probably comes from how we start the game and what team we pick and how it kind of appears as though we're going to set up, because if we're setting up with the same 11 that we've picked the last 2 games, then Brendan Rodgers is going to take one look at that team sheet. It's like, right, okay, these boys don't fancy it. Let's go at them. And at that point, we're in a whole world of trouble.
Mm.
Because, as we say, they've got the players that can hurt us: Barnes, Maddison, Tielemans, Iheanacho, Vardy if he plays, which I think is probably unlikely. And even Patson Daka is a good player when Leicester finally decide that they want to play to his strengths. So they've got the ammunition to be able to hurt us, but we've got to impose ourselves on the game and prevent them from kind of getting that foothold in the game. And for too often we've not done that. We did it at Chelsea for the first hour, and at that point we then kind of almost declared and played for that 1-0. And I mean, at the end of the day, fair play, we got it done. A little bit of fortune maybe, but I mean, I'd say it's a bit of fortune that we've not had for 90% of this season. But it's intent, and when you see that, when the fans see the lineup an hour before kickoff, they're going to basically have made their minds up on whether this game is going to be worth kind of even supporting in many ways. There will be a lot of people who, if we're setting up 4-2-2-2 with El Yunusi and Stu Armstrong still getting a game after what they turned in yesterday, there's going to be a lot of people who either might just take the pragmatic option of staying in the pub and watching it, or when they get to the ground, there's not going to be the enthusiasm. Whereas if there's changes to the lineup and likely changes to the tactical setup, then all of a sudden, okay, people think, right, they've thought about this week. Let's go for this and let's see what happens. And if we lose, we lose. If we've tried something that's in an attempt to win the game and we get picked off and Leicester win fair and square, fine. It happens. It's you don't like losing, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's a bit sort of another Simpsons meme, isn't it? Here with that cake of at least you tried. But I think fans will always respect effort and some thought going into how they're trying to win a game, especially at the top level where the tactical innovation is so important. Having those sort of subtle tweaks and things, and that's basically why Nathan Jones failed miserably, because he didn't have anything beyond his very basic Championship Luton Town subset of tactics. But Sellers has been around the block. He's obviously got good credentials as a coach. It's now up to him to come up with a tactical plan that is varied enough that's going to get past what is a pretty ropey Leicester defence.
Glenn, just to finish up then before we do our predictions, like the Chelsea games, this is a chance for Saints to complete another Premier League double. The point that Steve's made there, I think, I mean, you've obviously sat through the thick and thicker this season. Is that kind of, if the writing is on the wall, is that really what we want to see? Them almost sort of, I know it's easy to say play without fear, but almost try and unleash the shackles a bit and come out and not necessarily entertain, but at least try and play on the front foot.
Absolutely. We've tried keeping it tight when we don't do that. We lose every time we seem to try and do that. So what's the other thing you can do? You can have a go. And if we look in all these games that we've lost 1-0, if we'd lost a few of them 4-3, I think it'd be a little bit more palatable. Yeah, we'd be going, okay, our defending is comical, but at least we'd be having a go. At the moment, we're the worst of both worlds. We're not having a go and we're losing anyway.
Yeah.
So 14 games to go. Have a go. What have you got to lose? I don't think anyone is expecting us. I don't think anyone either outside of Saints fans or hardly anyone within Saints fans is expecting us to stay up. And you just couldn't expect us to stay up watching that rubbish that we saw on Saturday and some of the other games. I know it's different managers, but we have to do something different. It's a definition of madness to carry on doing the same thing, isn't it? And expecting things to change. It's just not going to. And teams aren't going to hand you games. Yeah. Other teams, as you get towards the business end of the season, like we got a game against Bournemouth coming up. You would think, even though it will be a low quality game, that they'll have a lot more intensity about them because it's getting towards that end of the season. And we've got to prove that, as Steve said, we've got to prove that we can do that. And horrible cliche time. It's 14 cup finals, isn't it? We've got to have a go in. We've got to have a go in all of them. We've got to have a go in all of them. There's no point in turning up and just existing and then getting beat 1-0 because someone's chucked a goal in the last 10 minutes, which has just happened far too often. So long answer to a short question. Yes, we've got to have a go and be more attacking.
Yeah, no, fingers crossed. All right, well, I can see Ellie's gone 2-0 Leicester here. Senken Tully 1 has gone Saints 2-1, and Unlikely Mass has gone 0-1 loss, of course, which I must say is what I'm going for. Let's whiz around quickly and get some predictions then. Steve, what do you reckon for Saints v Leicester?
I think if we open up a bit, then at least it might be vaguely entertaining. I just worry that we've got so much propensity to just fold at the back. So 2-2.
2-2. Glenn?
Because I've talked the merits of being positive and going for it, I've got to kind of have a prediction to match. So I'll go for a 2-1 win.
2-1 win. All right. And Alfie, to finish with you?
Yeah, I don't know if Ruben says obviously a massive Valencia fan, big Valencia character. I don't know if they've ever played a 4-3-3 in their history, but I hope they have, because it's a very simple 4-3-3 out there for me. Charlie Alcaraz, Lavia, Ward-Prowse in midfield, Adozi, Sulemano, and Onyematu in attack. There's no guarantee to score goals, but if they play that, 2-1 win.